Last Sunday, we saw the Olivier Awards 2025, a night to celebrate the best of commercial theatre, West End theatre, and the off-West End theatre that pays the salt fee. And I must say, what a surprising year. So, who won at the Olivier Awards 2025? Who was robbed at the Olivier Awards 2025? And why was this year such a breath of fresh air? Let's find out. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I'm the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets and rankings. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. But let's dive in to the Olivier Awards. So why were the Olivier Awards this year such a surprise? Well, I think it's mainly because of the fact that it was quite an even playing field this year. When we look over our winners, there wasn't really a clear sweep. And this is surprising for two reasons. Number one, the past couple of Olivier Awards has seen one show dominate very, very strongly. 2022, it was Cabaret. That was Cabaret's year to win. And win they did. They got every single musical acting category. They got revival, they got director, they just swept those awards. The next year was very heavily dominated by My Neighbor Totoro, winning entertainment, director, supporting actress for mwmheps, and more awards on top of that. And last year's awards was very heavily dominated by Sunset Boulevard. But this year, that hasn't been the case. The most winning show at the Oliviers this year is a three-way tie, with each of those shows picking up 3 wins. And even so, there is a high number of different musicals and plays that also picked up awards on a night. What's very interesting this year is that the variety comes from the musical side, not from the play side, where we saw almost every musical nominated be able to pick up at least 1 award, whereas the plays was heavily dominated by 3 shows. But even dominating sounds like the wrong word because each of them only picked up a handful of wins. And I think the other thing we need to look at of why this is so surprising is the elephant in the room, or the Fiddler on the Roof. Because when the nominations came out, I think a lot of us in the theatre sphere were expecting Oliver and Starlight Express to be kind of going head to head against each other in a lot of these awards. We expected those 2 revivals to be the Sunset Boulevard of the year. However, that didn't happen, and instead, a very strong but a little sleepy revival popped up from out the woodwork and swept up 13 nominations, becoming the joint most nominated show in Olivier's history, and that is, of course, Fiddler on the Roof. While that was a fantastic production that was definitely deserving of all of the awards it was nominated for, I don't think it was as high on everyone's radar as it ended up being. And because of that, especially when I was doing my predictions, which you can go watch, I actually did quite well, surprisingly. I was definitely swept up in the, well, okay, they're going to want to give awards to Fiddler, they're going to want to give awards to Fiddler here. Oh, we saw in previous years that Sunset Boulevard got a lot of awards here, and that was the sweep, so obviously Fiddler on the Roof is going to sweep. However, out of their 13 nominations, Fiddler on the Roof only won 3. They won in Best Set, they won for Best Revival, and they won for Best Sound Design. Now, this still means that they are one of the 3 most awarded shows of the evening, and the first we're going to speak about tonight, but definitely I did expect Fiddler to pick up a little bit more. As we were getting further and further into the night, I was kind of thinking, okay, well, I guess Fiddler's going to pick up supporting actress. Oh, they didn't. Well, I guess they're going to end up giving leading actor to it. Oh, okay, maybe leading actress is going to go randomly to Laura Pulver. I didn't expect it. Oh, no, they didn't. I think out of everything, that's the biggest surprise to me. That there wasn't as much love for Fiddler as it would have seemed from the initial nominations. I think in this moment, it makes a bit of sense to compare this to Hamilton. Hamilton was also nominated for 13 awards at the Olivier Awards, and is the musical that Fiddler on the Roof now shares this prestigious status with. Both of these being the most nominated show at the Oliviers. However, on the night, Hamilton managed to pick up 7 awards. I didn't expect that Fiddler on the Roof would reach that. If you look at my predictions when I was walking through things, I think I gave Fiddler about 6 or 5 awards. And some of those were just me going, well, Fiddler surely got to get 1 here. Surely I can't see it winning in another category, so it's got to be this one. But I will say the awards that it picked up feel very, very deserved. The set design by Tom Scott was incredible. That curved roof effect looked gorgeous and really matched against the area and the theatre that is the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, with those beautiful trees and that skyline behind it. It obviously picked up Best Musical Revival, which I think that would have been like the biggest surprise if it didn't manage to pick up Best Musical Revival. I did honestly think that they might beat out MJ to choreographer, especially as when they came to perform, they chose to do the actual bottle dance, showing off how fantastic Julia Chen's choreography was in that show. And finally, they got sound design, which I'm very glad that they got as well. While it is sad that Fiddler didn't go home with as many wins as maybe they expected to, I still think that these are 3 awards very well suited to Fiddler. And I think they go into their future steps with a strong banner against them. While they can't stand up and say that they won 7, 8, 13 if they really wanted to go that high, but that would have been impossible because they were double nominated in some categories. They can go into the run at the Barbican, go into their tour with that strong declaration. They are the most nominated show in Olivier's history, jointly with Hamilton. They can proudly say that they are jointly the most awarded show at the season this year, and definitely by far the most awarded revival of the year. I think Fiddler's going to come off of this very, very well. If we want to look at the other shows that picked up these big awards, let's look at our Best New Musical this year, which went to my beloved The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Now, if you watched some of my recaps, you'll know I was starting to lose a bit of faith, and I don't think you can blame me for that. It was up against Natasha Peer and the Great Comp of 1812. In the past couple of years, the Donmar productions hadn't done as well. They were constantly overshadowed by another show in the season. So if any time felt like their year, it did feel like this one, where when it comes to nominations, the Donmar Warehouse musical was the most nominated Best New Musical. But the thing about Benjamin Button is that while it wasn't nominated for loads of awards, it was nominated in the right categories, winning 3 out of 4 of the awards they were nominated for, which is very, very impressive. That does make them have, jointly with another show we'll speak about later, the best ratio of nominations to wins of the entire awards this evening. Benjamin Button, of course, picked up Best New Musical, the big award of the evening, and continues an ongoing trend of the past couple of years of British musicals coming out on top at the Oliviers. Not since Dear Evan Hansen have we had a Broadway transfer win. Actually, not since Dear Evan Hansen have we seen a show that didn't originate in the UK win, as we've gone from Back to the Future, which, while it is an American property written by Americans, it was produced here first, workshopped in Manchester, and then went straight to the Adelphi, to Standing at the Sky's Edge, to Operation Mincemeat, and now Benjamin Button. 2 years in a row, we have had fringe musicals win. These homegrown musicals that have slowly built themselves up and found success, just appealing to general audiences. And honestly, if this is a trend we're going to see for the next couple of years, I'm very happy to see that. Benjamin Button also picked up Best Musical Contributions, which, let's be perfectly honest, that makes a lot of sense. The work that Darren Clark and Mark Aspel and the entire ensemble put into that show is incredible. There's no MD on that stage. They are all just orchestrating themselves by very cleverly nodding in places. This actor-musician show that just absolutely soars. An amazingly deserved award. And finally, John Dalglish picked up his 2nd win for playing the role of Benjamin Button in leading actor. That was probably the hardest category of the night. Oh my god. Whatever way that went, I can see the argument. Jamie Moscato is incredible as Anatol, and while I think it was a weird category to put him into, I think he would have found himself having a much easier time fighting the fight in supporting actor, and also that role feels more like it should be in supporting actor. He still gave a phenomenal performance in that show. Miles Frost as MJ, incredible, came off of winning the Tony. If that doesn't say stiff competition, I don't know what does. We had Adam Danheiser in this category, Fiddler on the Roof, playing Tevye, such a difficult role. And in a production that's was very clearly favoured by the Olivier panel. And finally, Simon Lipkin, who, as a Jewish man, has taken the role of Fagin and reimagined it, taking the Jewish elements of the character of Fagin, these elements that have been portrayed as villainous in previous productions, and the controversy surrounding that, and instead channeling his Judaism into something a lot more positive, as well as giving one of the funniest performances of the year. That is a category that was stiff competition this year. That was a hard category to break through. But Daglish's Benjamin Button is just something else. The craft that he put into creating that role. The many eras that we see through Benjamin's life, even the moments where we see him age up or down, I guess, in a way. These quick moments where we see decades of Benjamin's life disappear, and we see these different shades of him. It's not only a complex role to play in the actual text, in the music of it, but it's also so complex in the physicality, in the creating of the age, and making sure that every single age of Benjamin feels real. Whether Benjamin right now is 70 or if he is 19. Daglish plays every single one to perfection. And honestly, one of my favourite moments of the night, which I'm not sure the ITV cameras picked up, is when Daglish went to pick up his award. As he was walking down from the audience to the stage, he did his little Benjamin Button walk. That was adorable. Honestly, the entire creative team of Benjamin Button were very funny on that stage, with Darren Clark stepping up and saying that he didn't prepare a speech because he's from New Zealand, which, when they won for Best New Musical, was riffed on by Jeffro Compton, who then said he has prepared a speech because he's not from New Zealand. I love these creatives so much. And what's even better is that's not the only callback to another speech that we see of the evening. And actually, we get to speak about these callbacks with our next show. The only play of the evening to pick up 3 awards. Giant. Giant is our current running Best New Play, having picked up 2 acting awards for John Lithgow in leading actor and Elliot Levy for actor in a supporting role. And having missed out on the awards for Best Director, and Romola Gary beating herself, but she won for The Years, which we'll speak about in a little bit, over winning for her role in Giant. I'll just say, one of my favourite speeches of the evening was Elliot Levy's, who I can only describe his speech as pure chaos. It was wild. He's going for an emotions of the speech being rather chaotic, which obviously I approve of. And as he's listing off people to thank, including the director and the writer, he states that Mark Rosenblatt's name sounds like he's crediting a law firm. Rosenblatt, which was so funny. And obviously, because we love a callback at tonight's awards, when Mark Rosenblatt went on stage to accept the award for Best New Play, he had a brilliant moment where he said he was accepting the award on behalf of Rosenblatt. The Olivier Awards 2025, a night for callbacks. Out of a lot of the plays, Giant did feel like the clear winner, even if I did want this award to go to The Years. Because at this point, looking at these plays, a lot of either finished their runs, are coming to the end of their runs, like The Years, whereas Giant is the one that's about to come into the West End. Giant is the one, well, actually, it's taking over the Harold Pinter Theatre from The Years. So it does make sense it's managed to pick up a lot of awards tonight. Next, we can move on to the 3 shows that picked up 2 awards. First, I want to speak about Titanic. This was my biggest surprise of the evening. Because if you've watched like my guide, if you watched my predictions, you'll know that I wanted Titanic to win both entertainment and Leighton Williams to win for Best Supporting Actor in a Musical. However, I was convinced that the Oliviers were not going to champion a show like Titanic. Titanic is a fantastic show and one that you absolutely need to go and see. But it's pure chaos. It's so weird. It's so wacky. It's campy. It's fruity. I always say to people, you will love Titanic if you love Celine Dion, if you love Titanic, or if you are a homosexual. If you're a part of the Ligabateur, the LGBTQA plus community. But because of all of that, it doesn't really feel like the type of show that would do amazingly well at the Olivier Awards. A night of prestigious theatre. Very classy, very black tie. But no, Titanic won 2 out of 3 of the awards it was nominated for tonight. Both of the ones that in my video, I said I wanted to see it win. Firstly, winning at the top of Act 2 for Best Entertainment, and then Leighton Williams picking up the award for Best Supporting Actor, to which he had a brilliant moment where he just shouted out in almost disbelief that he just won an Olivier Award for playing an iceberg. Yes, he did! The best iceberg in the West End right now. Honestly, Leighton Williams is someone who has done a lot of shows where he hasn't been able to pick up Olivier nominations. A lot of takeover roles. He was in Everybody's Talking About Jamie. He took over in Cabaret. Even if you want to go like further back, took over in Billy Elliot as a kid. He's been someone who is constantly in this industry. And I think something that's really poignant and really stuck with me watching some of his speeches to certain news outlets. I'm going to put in the certain one that this was to on screen right now. But he was speaking about these takeover roles and being the first black Billy Elliot, the first black MC, the first black Jamie New. And this time, this show, he was actually just the first. He's someone who has deserved an award like this for a very long time, but just has never been eligible. And I'm so glad that finally he's been able to get in there. He's originated a role in the West End and got an Olivier Award, rightfully so. Next, we can speak about My Darling to win Best New Play, which certainly did miss out, but didn't miss out on some other awards this year. The Years. The Years was such a poignant piece of theatre, such a beautiful piece of theatre, and I'm so glad it was recognised this year. It had the same amount of nominations as Giant, but did manage to win 1 less than Giant did. Firstly, they won Best Supporting Actress in a Play for Romola Gary, beating out Romola Gary. As we were getting closer and closer to the award show, I was scared that the vote for Romola would end up being split between herself. So I'm really glad, nonetheless, she managed to pick up a win here, and in the show that I wanted to see her win for. Does that sound selfish? Yes, it is. And they managed to pick up Best Director for MichellinaaB. Absolutely well deserved. I kind of hope this isn't the end for the Years. I'd love to see the Years like filmed or even go on a short UK tour. I think it's a really beautiful piece of theatre that more people need to go and see. I hope that some of these wins can launch it much further forward within that. And let's talk about the final show to get 2 wins of the night. Our Best Play Revival of this year, Oedipus. And we're speaking about Windipus, not Old Vicipus. Actually, let's take a moment to speak about Old Vicipus, because Old Vicipus, while being the second most nominated play revival this year, didn't manage to pick up any wins. Saying that, not a single other play that I haven't mentioned this year managed to pick up any wins. While we're going to speak about a lot of variety when it comes to musicals, Plays was dominated by the same 3 plays this year. Oedipus, the Wyndham's version, The Years, and Giant. Spirited Away didn't follow the train that Totoro started. Ballet Shoes was probably my biggest surprise of the night, not managing to pick anything up. I thought that they would manage to get Best Entertainment over Titanic. And while Oedipus at the Old Vic was a little bit more panned by critics and audiences, it still had a strong head at this award show. But let's speak about our winning Oedipus. Oedipus. The first award of the night was Best Revival, which I've got to say, what a strange structure. Almost all of the play awards were in the first act, and almost all of the musical awards were the second act. Like, Best New Play ended the first act, and Best Revival started the first act, which was strange structurally, but okay. Why not? Honestly, worked out kind of well because Robert Icke had a really funny speech where he claimed that incest really brings people together. I mean, at least they're on brand. As well as winning Best Revival, their Jocasta won out in the Battle of Jocastas, as Leslie Manville picked up the award for Best Actress, where she had a kind of flirty moment with presenter Tom Hiddleston. Not the power couple I expected to see come out of the Olivier Awards, but here we are. And actually, that's a great segue in speaking about the shows this year that picked up one award each. You may think, how is that a really great segue? Well, I said here we are, because we're going to start by speaking about Hello Dolly. Now, I thought Hello Dolly actually had a good shot of taking both of the acting nominations it was up for this year. Honestly, this was just a really tough year for musical revivals. So much so that we're going to speak about every single musical revival. Every single musical revival nominated this year managed to pick up an award. But Hello Dolly, rather expectedly, picked up the award for Best Actress. This being presented by two presenters who are currently preparing to star in Sondheim's Here We Are. I told you that was a really good segue. You just had to appreciate it. And hey, if I haven't said Here We Are enough, they certainly did. Imelda Staunton had this really lovely speech where she dedicated it to her mum and spoke about this show that she's preparing to do in the West End in a couple of months, where she's starring alongside her daughter. A really sweet moment where she says on that stage that she wishes her mum could see that. The other shows to pick up one award a night, we have MJ that managed to get Best Theatre Choreographer, continuing the trend that they saw at the Watson Stage Awards. I'm really glad they managed to get this, because honestly, that was also a really difficult category. I could see an argument for Fiddler on the Roof winning. I could see an argument for Matthew Bourne winning for Oliver. But to be fair, Matthew Bourne, he does have enough Oliviers at this point. And of course, Hoffe Schechter for Old Vicipus. I love how I keep calling it Old Vicipus and not Oedipus at the Old Vic. It just rolls off the tongue more. I think out of all three awards for MJ this evening, that was the one that they were most likely to win, and the one that they were most fitting to win. Also managed to pick up one award this evening was Starlight Express, finally giving Gabriella Slade an Olivier Award. Because yes, while she won the Tony for her costume designs for Sex, she actually didn't win the Olivier Award. So this wrong has been righted now, as Starlight Express managed to get costume design. And the final show to pick up an Olivier Award was Natasha Pierre and the Great Comedy 1812. While they were beaten out in all of their other categories, they did manage to pick up one of their acting nominations. They managed to pick up Best Supporting Actress for mwmheps, who, I must say, looked absolutely gorgeous. Oh my god, one of my favorite outfits of the night. That's all the plays and musicals that won awards this evening. Obviously, there's Family Show and opera and dance. I'm not very knowledgeable on any of those. I'm sorry. But I will actually mention Feston very quickly. Feston is the opera that swept the two opera categories this year, winning both of them. And Feston's second speech, they had a great moment where they called out the government's current plans of exempting AI from copyright, meaning that all of the artists' work in that room, all of the writers, all of the creatives in that room could have their art funneled through AI programs without their permission. This plan by the government was also called out by Cameron Mackintosh, who later in the show accepted a special award for the 40th anniversary of Les Mis. These plans are really dangerous to creatives within this industry. And in an industry that is so severely underfunded, where creatives are working paycheck to paycheck. We need protection against AI more than ever. There's definitely a lot of good uses for AI, especially as a tool to help creatives. But exempting AI from copyright and allowing it to effectively steal creatives' work is not going to help creatives. It's only going to hinder them. And without creatives to do the work, without opportunities for creatives, nights like the Oliviers don't exist. Something I will mention generally about this award show, though, while there was a lot of variety in the different shows awarded, there wasn't loads of variety on that stage. The Olivier Awards this year were very white. And to further this, as a trans person watching this, it's still really sad to see artists like Joe Foster not have a category to be properly nominated and respected in. While there are definitely challenges when it comes to gender-neutral categories in award shows, there have been many, many examples of this being done successfully. And every year, I will continue to call on the Olivier Awards to properly recognize non-binary talent on West End stages and stages beyond. I think nights like these can be an amazing celebration of theatre, but can often show the overall picture and can often show that sometimes there is a clear lack of diversity when it comes to who is being given these opportunities. And while these are things that are easier to fix on paper than to fix practically, they are still very important to mention and to highlight. And if we want to speak about more of that, we can even look to different factors of the industry that aren't celebrated in a show like the Oliviers. We still don't have a proper category for Wham! Every single person at the Olivier Awards are having their hair done, have makeup on. Every single show that performed would have performance on that stage in show makeup. The teams working on wigs, hair, and makeup deserve recognition in award shows like these. I think a show like Benjamin Button, especially now it is won this year, also highlights the key need to champion our ensembles. Another clear slam dunk win for that show would have been celebrating the ensemble, and it's such a shame that there isn't an award at the Oliviers that would celebrate these group of theatre makers, these actors, performers, musicians that give their all to every single show that they perform. But with those moments out the way in areas where I would love to see the Olivier Awards improve, let's celebrate what we did get this year. We got a really fantastic award show where we saw such a beautiful variety of musicals awarded, where there wasn't one clear winner, and it felt like a strong celebration of so many different types of theatre. We have musicals with humble beginnings like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, like Titanic, building themselves up and having a moment to shine on such a huge stage, to heavy hitter Broadway transfers like MJ, to new plays from fresh creatives like Mark Rosenblatt's Giant. It was a really diverse year in terms of the winners, and I'm so glad to see that. We got to see so many different shows, so many different creatives get their moment to celebrate the work they have done this year, and I really loved that. I really loved having this year not be a clear sweep, not have one show completely dominate. It was really fantastic to see. And we've got so much to look forward to next year, with huge revivals like Producers, Evita, Into the Woods, new musicals like Sing Street, Hercules, Shucked, Gatsby. And already on my list, so many plays. Just 1,000,001 plays. My Master Builder, Punch, Stereophonic, Retrograde, and revivals like Much Ado About Nothing, which feels weird that it's part of next year's Oliviers, but it is technically because it was literally days after the cutoff. Richard II, Mrs. Warren's Profession, Deep Blue Sea, The Seagull. I think we've got a lot of really exciting theatre to celebrate next year. I hope next year's nominees can prove to be just as exciting as this year's have been. So, what do you think? Who out of the winners were you most excited to see pick up an Olivier Award? Let me know all your thoughts on this year's awards in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you'd like to drop me a follow over there. I also have other social links and a merch store in the description down below. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.